When I was 16, my parents told their friends I was the family mistake. It was at one of my mom's dinner parties. She laughed, pointed at me, and said, "Birth control's only 99% effective. He's the 1%. Everyone laughed. I didn't. That night. I left home with $40 in my pocket and a backpack. 6 years later, they finally found me. And today, they showed up at my door, crying, begging me to talk. I threw them out. For obvious reasons. Yeah, I know this is getting long, but 6 years of bottled-up pain will do that to you. I always knew I wasn't the golden child. That title belonged to my older brother, Morris, the planned one. Good grades, varsity jacket, baseball scholarship prospects, the whole American dream package. Me? According to my mom's dinner party. Jokes, I was what happens when you trust off-brand pharmacy condoms. Hilarious, right? She'd been telling that joke since I was 8. I grew up thinking it was normal for your mom to turn you into a punchline. But you adapt. I learned to smile through the jabs, built up emotional calluses. When adults asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, I'd say, a tax write-off, because that's how my dad referred to me when he was 3 beers deep. People thought I was witty. I was just parroting what I heard at home. The night everything changed was my mom's birthday dinner. Not the actual family dinner, that was just the 4 of us at some mediocre restaurant where Dad grumbled about the prices while downing his 4th scotch. No, the real event was 2 days later, the party. Mom's big shot at impressing her country club crowd. Our house wasn't fancy, but she went full Pinterest psycho. New placemats, candles, the good. Plates that hadn't seen daylight in years. Dad was told to wear his one nice shirt and limit himself to 5 drinks. Morris got the be impressive speech. I didn't even get a please don't embarrass me. That should have been my first clue. The evening started with me playing house servant. "Michael, be useful for once," she said, handing me a tray of appetizers. I floated around the room while Mom bragged about Morris's baseball future. Dad, for once, managed to stay quietly drunk without being a total embarrassment. I was invisible. Honestly, that was the best-case scenario. Then someone brought up family planning. Some lady with a manager haircut mentioned how expensive kids are these days. And that's when it happened. My mom, 4 glasses of wine in, lit up with this look I'd seen too many times before. The, "I've got a real zinger" look. She pointed at me, right at me, as I was collecting glasses and said, "Birth controls, only 99% effective." She paused for dramatic effect. "He's the 1%. The room erupted in laughter. Even my dad let out a deep, genuine belly laugh, like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. I stood there holding dirty glasses while a room full of adults laughed at the fact that I was never supposed to exist. Morris didn't laugh. He just stared at his plate, like he wished he could disappear. At least one person in that room had the decency to feel ashamed. But Mom wasn't done. "We already had our perfect kid," she added, gesturing to Morris. "Michael here is what we call the family mistake." More laughter. Someone, maybe Dad's boss, chimed in with, "Ouch, bet. That's gonna leave a mark." Like we were characters in a bad sitcom. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't throw the glasses. I just set them down quietly and walked upstairs. No one noticed. The conversation had already moved on to someone's vacation in Cancun. I sat on my bed and just shut down, like a computer that had been running too many tabs for too long. The emotional screen went blue, then black. I knew I was leaving that night. I dumped my textbooks out of my school backpack and packed a couple of t-shirts, jeans, underwear, a toothbrush, the $40 birthday money Grandma had sent me, my phone charger, and the emergency Cliff bars I kept for the nights Dad forgot to buy. Groceries. Morris came up while I was packing. We didn't say much, didn't need to. He'd seen this coming before I did, probably. He handed me $120 from his savings and his old phone, disconnected from the family plan, but still usable. Said he'd load $20 of prepaid minutes on it the next day. They won't even notice you're gone until tomorrow afternoon, he said. Not accusatory, just factual, like he was reading the weather report for my future. I almost broke then. Almost unpacked everything and crawled into bed for one more day of being the family joke. But then I heard the laughter downstairs again. My mom's voice carrying through the walls, saying something about teenage attitude problems. Nope, I was done. I waited until midnight. The house was quiet. Mom and Dad had passed out. Wine and whiskey bottles empty. Morris left his desk light on, our old signal from childhood. All clear. I didn't leave a note. What was I supposed to say? Thanks for making me feel like a cancerous growth on your perfect family for 16 years? The night I left, the air had that late October bite, cold, sharp, and honest. I had nowhere to go, but even that felt better than staying. I walked for miles, numb but sure. Eventually, I found a 24-hour McDonald's, used their free Wi-Fi, and figured out my next move. A one-way Greyhound to the next city over. Not too far, but far enough. The first week was hell. I slept in the bus station for 2 nights. Eventually, I found a youth shelter. They gave me 2 weeks. That was enough time to land a dishwashing job at this shady diner that didn't care I was underage. They paid cash. That was all that mattered. Morris and I kept in touch through a throwaway email we set up. He gave me updates from home, said Mom cried for the cameras when she filed the missing person report, then complained to the cops that I was always dramatic. Dad? He got drunk and said I'd come crawling back once I got hungry enough. They didn't know me at all. I didn't go back. Not when my stomach twisted into knots from hunger. Not when I shared a room with 6 strangers at the shelter, some of them shouting in their sleep. Not even when December hit and I still didn't own a real coat. 2 months in, I met Ronnie. He was the head cook at the diner and caught me asleep in the break room during my shift. I thought I was fired on the spot. Instead, he asked why I wasn't in school. I ended up telling him everything, over cold fries after closing. Turns out, he was a family mistake too. Different story, same flavor. He got it. Ronnie hooked me up with work on small renovation gigs, off the books at first. When I got my GED at 17, he helped me go legit. Even let me crash on his couch until I could afford my first apartment. It was a shoebox with water stains and the world's saddest window view, but it was mine. The first 2 years blurred together. 12-hour shifts, instant ramen, falling asleep to YouTube tutorials about taxes and credit scores on free Wi-Fi. No social life, no time, just work, save, survive. Morris graduated and left for college 3 states away. Smart move. We still emailed, though less and less. He was living, I was building. By year 3, I started to feel almost human again. I moved into a place without visible mold, started online community college classes, even went on a few Tinder dates that weren't total disasters. My parents? They finally realized I wasn't coming back. Around month 5, they filed a missing persons report, but it didn't go far. I was working under my legal name, paying bills. They just didn't look that hard. Morris told me they turned my old room into a home gym. By my 17th birthday, Dad had sold my baseball card collection. Mom told the neighbors I was off at some special boarding school for troubled teens. That was her narrative. Neat, sanitized, palatable. That's when I realized this wasn't just about escaping anymore. It was about becoming someone they'd regret losing, someone who would make them feel the weight of what they threw away. I stopped being angry. Anger burns calories, and I needed all my energy to climb. I got cold, focused, strategic. I started thinking about money, not just as survival, but as power. Every paycheck, every A in my online classes, every new skill I picked up. Each one was a brick in the wall between me and that dinner table where I stood holding dirty glasses while they laughed at my existence. 6 years have passed. I'm 22 now. I have my own place, my own life, my own chosen family, people who actually give a damn. Morris is the only one who knows where I am. He swore to secrecy, until last week. He called me, his voice nervous, and said our parents were looking hard. Not out of love, because they need something. Turns out the Bank of Karma is calling in their debt. And me? I'm the collections agent they never saw coming. Interest on emotional debt compounds daily. Update, first off, holy hell, I didn't. Expect the first part to blow up like it did. Repeat my inbox. Thanks for the awards and for validating that I'm not the crazy one in this story. For those asking if it's real, unfortunately, yes. Some names and details are changed, but the core? That's all me. All right, picking up from where I left off. The first 2 years after I left home were survival. Plain and simple. Double. Shifts. Budget ramen. Sleeping on a mattress I found by a dumpster. Don't judge. I scrubbed it with enough Lysol to nuke a small village. I'd check email at the public library. Morris would send updates, some helpful, some just confirming I was better off gone. Apparently, my parents looked for me for about 3 weeks, and by looked, I mean, Mom posted a couple dramatic Facebook updates with my school photo, soaking up sympathy likes. Dad called 2 of my friends from school. That's it. Month 4, Morris sent me a screenshot of Mom's post. They'd converted my room into her dream home gym. Peloton knockoff, decorative weights, caption, making lemonade from life's lemons Asher blessed. Fit Mom. That post got more attention than the ones about me being missing. Let that sink in. By year 3, I'd saved enough to take community college classes. Online, of course, the kind you grind through after working. All day, I studied business and finance. Not because I loved it, but because I realized money is just math. And math doesn't care if your mom wished you'd never been born. That's around the time I met Zoe, through an online study group. She DM'd me after I fixed her Excel formula during a group project. We started video chatting, first about schoolwork, then about life. She didn't treat me like a punchline. She asked real questions. And for once, I had answers. Zoe was smart as hell, studying for her paralegal certification while working full-time at a law office. Hustler energy. First time we met in real life was at this sad little coffee shop halfway between our apartments. I was nervous as hell. Wore my one decent shirt, still had a pasta sauce stain I'd tried to cover with a black pen. She showed up with her hair in a messy bun, glasses sliding down her nose, and a smile that made me forget, for a full 3 hours, that I was the family mistake. I told her everything that night, expected her to bolt. Instead, she just looked at me, not with pity, something colder, sharper. She told me about her own toxic mom, the kind who used her as an emotional punching bag growing up, different details. Same flavor of damage. Zoe changed how I saw the world. Where I saw survival, she saw opportunity. She'd scroll through property listings while we ate takeout on the floor and casually say, "That building's value doesn't match the neighborhood." Growth pattern. She made me think bigger. Meanwhile, Morris kept me looped in on the home front. Dad's drinking had gotten worse after he got laid off. Mom's social climbing hit a ceiling when her fake fancy friends realized she was living on maxed-out credit cards. They refinanced the house. Twice. Morris graduated and took a job out of state. Smart move. He knew which city I lived in, but not the exact address. Just in case. We had a code. If he ever texted Blue Waffle, an old, disgusting inside joke, it meant our parents had figured out too much. By year 4, things started turning around. I got promoted twice at work, moved into an apartment where the neighbors didn't scream at 3 a.m., got a secured credit card and built a real credit score. Small wins, felt like trophies. I got obsessed with personal finance, YouTube channels and subreddits. Learned about investments, compound interest, the works. Every dollar I saved was another brick in the wall between me and ever needing my parents. again. Zoe moved in during year 5. Our place wasn't fancy. A one-bedroom with working appliances and a shower that didn't randomly go cold. But it was ours. We'd sit on a second-hand couch eating discount stir-fry, planning our budget, like other couples planned weddings. That's when Morris dropped the first bomb. He called instead of texting. I knew something was wrong. Dad had lost the house. Not yet, technically. They were in pre-foreclosure. But the bank was circling. Years of refinancing and missed payments. Half-baked business ventures finally caught up with them. They had 90 days before eviction, and suddenly they remembered they had another son. Mom started posting old baby pictures of me on Facebook. Missing my baby boy every day. Please share to help us find Michael the yours missing sin far come home. The same photos she couldn't be bothered to post when I actually went missing. The comments were pure gold. I thought he was at boarding school. Didn't you say he joined the military? Wait, isn't that the room you turned into? A gym? Dad joined Facebook groups for parents of estranged children, painting himself as this broken-hearted father desperate to reconnect. Morris said he even got sober for 3 weeks. I watched all of this unfold like a Netflix drama, through Morris's updates, through their desperate posts, and something colder than anger started forming in me. Zoe noticed. We'd be eating dinner, and she'd catch me zoning out, running numbers in my head. She didn't talk me out of what I was. Planning. She helped refine it. I'd been living below my means for years. Saving, investing, building a decent portfolio. Not huge money, but enough to make a move. Zoe, with her legal knowledge, helped me navigate the fine print. That's when we hatched the plan. I created an LLC. Used a different name. Reached out to the bank holding my parents' mortgage. Said I was interested in purchasing distressed properties in that neighborhood. Made a quiet offer on their specific loan. Here's the thing. Banks don't care who buys the debt, as long as they get paid. 3 weeks and a stack of paperwork later, I owned the mortgage on their house. They didn't know, but every month, they sent a check. It was going to me. I didn't foreclose. Not yet. I wanted them to find me first, to come begging. Not knowing I owned the roof over their heads. Zoe called it poetic justice. I called it balancing the ledger. Meanwhile, Mom's online campaign started gaining traction. Some local Facebook group shared her posts. People love a good lost son reunion story, especially when they don't know the truth. The mistake happened 6 months ago. Morris came to visit for the weekend and posted an Instagram story. Just us grabbing lunch at this local spot. One problem? The restaurant. Had a mural in the background that screamed which city we were in. Morris deleted it after 10 minutes. Too late. Mom had already seen it. The texts started flooding in. Morris showed me his phone, 27 unread messages from her, all variations of, "Is that Michael? Where are you?" He sent me the blue waffle text that night. We laughed it off. I mean, what were the odds they'd find me in a city of 2 million people based on one mural? Pretty high, apparently, when you're desperate. 2 weeks ago, Morris called again. Mom had joined every Facebook group in our city. She was posting my high school photo everywhere, spinning a sob story about us being tragically separated. Then last week, the neighbor across the hall pulled me aside, said someone had been asking about me. Showed me a screenshot from our apartment complex's community page. There she was, my mom, messaging residents. I changed the locks that night. Part of me wanted to run again, start over somewhere new, but Zoe reminded me, I own their house. I hold all the cards. Maybe it was time to play them. 3 days ago, it happened. I was working from home. The buzzer rang. I checked the security feed on my phone. Cheap smart home tech, best investment I ever made. There they were, Mom and Dad, standing at my door. They looked older, desperate. Dad had lost weight. Mom had gained it. Both looked like they hadn't slept in days. Dad was fidgeting, jittery like he needed a drink. Mom clutched her purse like it held her last shred of dignity. They didn't know whose door they were standing at. Didn't know I'd been expecting them. Didn't know I was the one holding the deed to their last lifeline. And I wasn't sure. Yet whether I'd open the door. I didn't answer the door. Watched them press the buzzer 3 more times. Eventually, they left a handwritten note, begging me to contact them about an urgent family matter. Morris called that night. Confirmed what I already knew. They were here about the house. They needed money. They needed their mistake to bail them out. I spent the next 2 days getting ready with Zoe, gathering documents, rehearsing what I'd say, practicing how to stay calm. I promised myself they wouldn't get the satisfaction of seeing the hurt kid they left behind. Yesterday morning, the buzzer rang again, same desperate faces on the camera. This time, I buzzed them up. 6 years of silence were about to end, and they had no idea what waited for them behind my door. The mistake they laughed about? Yeah, he now owned their home. And memories aren't the only debts that collect interest. My hands were shaking when I let them in. Not from fear, more like when you chug 3 energy drinks on an empty stomach, that electric, on-edge feeling. Like your body can't decide if it's excited or about to collapse. I'd planned this moment for years. Rehearsed speeches, practiced. Facial expressions in the bathroom mirror like some kind of maniac. But when the knock finally came, it all vanished. Zoe squeezed my hand before disappearing into the bedroom. We agreed. The first round was just me and them. I opened the door. It was surreal, like one of those dreams where you show up to school in your underwear, except I was fully dressed and they were the ones exposed. Mom looked smaller somehow. Her hair was badly box-dyed now. The salon-perfect glow was gone. Her designer purse had been replaced with something from a discount bin. Dad looked like he'd aged 15 years in 6. The alcohol bloat was gone. But so was everything else. His skin hung loosely, like it didn't know what to do without the puffiness. Silence stretched out for 10 awkward seconds. Then Mom made this weird choking sound and tried to hug me. I stepped back. That rejection hit her like a slap. Dad just stood there, eyes scanning my apartment, the furniture, the smart TV, the clean space, the evidence that their mistake hadn't ended up in a gutter. Mom immediately started crying, right on cue. That was always her move. Turn the waterworks on, see what it gets her. Dad tried to play the dignified angle. "Can we come in to talk?" he asked, trying to sound normal. I let them in. Didn't offer drinks, didn't offer seats. Let them stand there awkwardly like door-to-door salespeople. Mom went on, how she couldn't believe she found me, how she'd never stopped looking, how many nights she cried herself to sleep. Dad nodded along like a bobblehead. Neither of them mentioned the fact that they turned my bedroom into a home gym less than a month after they kicked me out. Funny how those little details slip when you need something. I finally cut through the theater. "Why are you here?" I asked. Not what they wanted. Why? Why now? Why after 6 years of silence? The facade cracked instantly. Mom's fake crying stopped mid-sob. Dad's shoulders slumped. They shared a look I hadn't seen since I was a kid, the one they used when the card got declined at the grocery store. Then the truth spilled out. They were losing the house. Bank was foreclosing. They'd tried everything. Loan modifications, refinancing, even a GoFundMe that raised a whopping $87. They needed a place to stay. They needed money. They needed me. I asked why they hadn't gone to Morris. More awkward shuffling. Turns out they had. Morris gave them $3,000 6 months ago. Money he couldn't really spare, fresh out of college and drowning in student loans. They burned through it in weeks, went back for more. That's when Morris finally drew a line. So now they were scraping the bottom of the barrel, tracking down their backup plan, me. The most surreal part? Watching them shift gears in real time. from desperate to calculating. Mom's eyes kept flicking around, mentally pricing the furniture. Dad asked casual questions about my job and income. They were doing math, sizing up what they could get. I said I needed time to think. Mom jumped on it, said they only had 2 weeks before eviction. Dad threw out a number, said they'd need at least $10,000 to get into a new place, plus the deposit, plus. The total kept rising as they talked. I walked them out after 20 minutes, promised I'd call tomorrow. Mom guilt-tripped me for not hugging her goodbye. Dad tried to act like this was just a family chat, like they hadn't made their teenage son homeless and then pretended he never existed. The second they left, I had a mini breakdown in the kitchen. Zoe found me sitting on the floor, half laughing, half crying. Not my proudest moment. She didn't try to fix it, just sat next to me until I could breathe again. That night, we finalized the plan. The next day, I called them, invited them to dinner. Not at my place, at a mid-range restaurant, nice enough to feel serious, casual enough to disarm them. Reserved a private room. They agreed fast, too fast. When they walked in, they found not just me, but Zoe, Morris, who'd flown in that morning, and Ronnie, my best friend, the closest thing I've ever had to a brother, my actual family, the ones who showed up when it mattered. Mom's face when she realized this wasn't a private handoff, priceless. Dad looked like he wanted to order a double whiskey but wasn't sure who was paying. We all got seated, ordered drinks, let the tension simmer. Then I started, told them I knew about the foreclosure, about everything. Their faces shifted from confusion to cautious hope. They thought I was going to offer to help. Instead, I slid a folder across the table. Inside, documents showing that I, through my LLC, owned their mortgage. Their house? Technically mine. My property? Mom went white. Dad went red. Morris looked down at his water glass, hiding a smile. Zoe watched them with the cold, analytical stare of someone observing a lab experiment. I kept my voice calm, steady. I explained their options. I could foreclose immediately. I could offer them a payment plan, one they'd never afford. I could let them stay as renters under strict, legally enforced conditions. Or, and here was the kicker, I could sign the house over to them, free and clear. But only if they met 3 conditions. First, they would publicly acknowledge how they had treated me, not just to family, to everyone, their friends, their neighbors. The same people who laughed at the 1% mistake would hear exactly what happened after. Second, they would attend family counseling with me and Morris, not to fix things, but to hear, with a professional witness, how their behavior had affected their children. Third, they would sign a legally binding agreement that they would never ask me for money again. Mom started crying, for real this time. No audience to perform for, just pure, stunned disbelief. Dad stared at the documents like they were written in ancient Sumerian. Then Morris spoke. He told them they should be grateful, that what I was offering was more than fair, that he'd watched me build myself up from nothing while they turned my old bedroom into a home gym. The rest of the dinner was excruciating. Mom swung wildly between defensive rage and manipulative sobbing. Dad mostly sat in silence, much except for one moment when he asked, "Did you do all this just to hurt us?" I looked him dead in the eye. "No," I said. "I did it to balance the books. You discarded me when I had no value. Now you want to treat me like an ATM because you need something. That's not how family works. That's not how anything works." They left without agreeing to the terms. I gave them 48 hours to decide. Those 2 days were strange. I felt powerful, but also kind of hollow. Zoe kept checking on me, bringing me tea I didn't drink. She sat beside me while I stared at the wall. Morris stayed on our couch, a buffer between me and any surprise parental visits. Then, on the morning of the deadline, they came back. They looked defeated. They agreed to my terms, not because they understood what they'd done, but because they had no other choice. We signed the paperwork with minimal drama. Zoe's coworker, a notary, witnessed everything. The aftermath has been complicated. They've kept their word, probably because they know I still hold every legal card. Mom posted a long, self-pitying apology on Facebook, the kind that somehow still makes her the victim. Dad's called me twice. Awkward conversations where he fumbles around trying to figure out if I'm still angry. Maybe I am, but not in the way he thinks. Morris went home yesterday. Before he left, he hugged me tight and whispered, "I'm proud of you. You did what I never had the guts to do. Hold them accountable. Is this revenge?" Maybe. But it feels less like payback and more like correction. Like balancing an equation that's been wrong for 22 years. Am I happy? No, not exactly. But I am satisfied. The anger isn't gone. It's just different, now. Not a burning hole in my chest. More like a scar. Closed. Faded. Still there, but no longer raw. Last night, Zoe and I lay in bed talking about normal couple stuff. Getting a dog. Saving for a house of our own. Then she asked me, "Do you regret any of it?" I thought about that 16-year-old kid with $40 in a backpack, about the nights I went hungry, the double shifts I pulled with a fever, the years without a safety net. And then I thought about now, about what I built, about the people who actually love me. I told her, no, I don't regret it. Not the leaving, not the struggling, not even the revenge. Some mistakes? They turn out to be the best decisions you ever make.